helping you find your new way forward to the best years of your life. This is a New Way Forward Vodcast with your host, Paul Long.
Do you know what the primary reason is why people do not make a major change in their life or even change their life to something they really want or deserve? They're full of excuses. They start thinking about it, they start dreaming about it, they start thinking about how they don't like or are unfulfilled or hate the life that they have, and I need to change it, and then it's an excuse, an excuse, an excuse. In this video, I'm going to give you the 5 major excuses that pop into people's heads that shut them down and how to overcome them. And then at the end, a little bonus thing that helps you through the entire process. So there's a difference between an excuse, which is my dog ate my homework, and a reason, which means it's legitimate. And in all of my research and my own personal efforts, because I learned these the hard way because they popped into my head and along with several others. And I'm like, these are excuses. They don't make sense. And so I started learning from others about how to do it, and also I just challenged them, which this will enable you to do. And what I found is that there is not one single legitimate reason for you to not be able to change your life into something that is right for you. That's right for you. It's not like, well, I want to change my life and be the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Well, that's not right for me. That's not what I wanted at this phase of my life when I was 12. Yeah. There's not one legitimate reason. I take that back. There is one reason to not change your life. And that is because you already love your life and it's perfect. And if that's the case with you, hey, check out another video because you don't need this one. All right, so let's dive into it. Here are the 5 excuses to overcome so that you can have the life you want and need. So the imposter syndrome is basically, who the hell am I to do this? Or I'm not good enough to do this. Or I can't do this because of I'm not smart enough, good looking enough, responsible enough, or whatever. In almost every case, you know where that comes from? That belief in yourself, a most likely false belief about yourself, it comes from childhood. It typically, but not exclusively, comes from our parents, the way they talked to us, the way that they were, the way they regarded us. And when you're a kid, you are absorbing everything from how to walk to how to get along to how to do math as being empirical information. And it's my belief that the vast majority of human beings that ever walked this earth died with some of these false beliefs from childhood that weren't about who you really are and what you're really capable of, but it's the way your parents were, even the ones that were well-intentioned. And the I'm not good enough thing, that's the kind of thing where you're 10 years old and, hey mom, I got a B+ on my math grade. I've been struggling, I got a B+. And it's like, well, that's good, but you know, if you'd studied harder, you could have made an A+. Well, then you grow up, sometimes seemingly very successful people and workaholics have suffered from this syndrome, and they're constantly trying to prove that they're good enough. But all of these other things maybe come from our parents. So the point of it is that when that excuse of I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not whatever happens, you identify it and you challenge it. Is that really the way that I am? You know, I've had 2 previous successful careers, but when I was looking to my new way forward, which I discovered, which is this thing that I'm doing now, I realized that I had a false belief from childhood that was holding me back. And I had to identify it. And mine was not as clear cut as a lot of people's. And I really had to put the work in. But this is also when I learned that the life that we have or don't have comes because we've got these false beliefs. And of course, by definition, a belief is something we believe to be true. But if it's not, that screws us up. Because here's the formula. We have a belief, and a belief drives an emotion, which drives a decision, which drives an action, and there's your life right now. And if it's a false belief, you get a false outcome, but it gets validated because, oh, see, I can't handle money. Well, that's because you believe that you can't. You change that belief around, and you can. So this imposter syndrome of I'm not good enough or I can't, you know what yours is. Or if you don't, think about it and you'll probably identify it relatively quickly. You identify it, you challenge it, and you turn it around because you are absolutely capable of doing that. Now, I also want to say that people will say, well, wait a minute, I've got this problem, I've got this handicap or whatever. Let me give you a quick list of people who had that kind of situation. Helen Keller, she was deaf and blind, and yet she became a world leader for change. Stephen Hawking, the brilliant scientist, had ALS. Beethoven composed some of his best music while he was deaf. Oprah Winfrey was born into poverty and was raped as a child. Franklin Roosevelt had polio. Frederick Douglass, the abolitionist, was born into slavery. The list goes on and on. History is full of these people, the dyslexics in the world. Steve Jobs, Albert Einstein, Richard Branson, Leonardo da Vinci, Agatha Christie, Isaac Newton, Thomas Edison, Sir Richard Branson were all dyslexic. They did not use that as an excuse or as a reason why they couldn't become stellar. And those are just the famous people. They're the everyday people like you and me too, that can fit into the equation, but that doesn't have to be a reason that you can't discover and pursue a life that is ideal for you. Okay, excuse number 2. I don't have the right skills, experience, talent, or knowledge. You might not now, but you can. Or you can find other resources. Or you may have more of these things than you think that you do. That's really not the point, because you can always find it and you can always acquire it. There's a great quote from President Calvin Coolidge, who, was kind of a vanilla guy. But this is a great quote, and it's a famous quote from him. He says, "Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful people. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent." So the point of it is that that's not an excuse. That's not a starting point. Well, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. We all don't have everything that we need in order to succeed in life, in any area of life. I had never raised kids before, but Kim and I managed to raise 2 exceptional sons, right? So would the fact that I didn't have an experience as a parent be an excuse for me not to have kids? I mean, that's just one example. And I'll give you a business case. There was this young girl, Abby Fleck. I think she was about 10 years old. They were having breakfast, and she came up with this idea about making a plastic tray with a plastic rod and 2 plastic rods extending from it that you could hang bacon over and put it in the microwave. She was 10 years old. And her father's like, that's a great idea. And they started working it, and they started working it, and they started working it. Well, bottom line is, she made millions. They made millions, and she was 10 years old. So when you have something that you know is right for you, that you truly want, in the first place and through the processes that I offer with what I offer, A New Way Forward, that thing that's right for you is something you can pursue even if you're not fully equipped in order to do it. Hey, doing this thing here, you're like, oh yeah, Paul, well, you did TV, you created videos. Well, I mean, creating video is my iPhone right now. I had to learn all sorts of new stuff, and I've made mistakes and everything else. But the fact of the matter is that I was lacking, but I found it. Or when I was creating these, like a big car reveal or some things that had never been done before that I had done for, a corporate client. Like nobody had ever done it before. I did it because I found people who, in the specialties that I was lacking, had forgotten more than I knew. So there's always a way to learn, to develop the skills, and also too, I also want to say, and this kind of gets back to the imposter syndrome, we always undervalue what we have to offer. So there's always a way to achieve what you've identified, what you have a passion for, that you want for yourself. Excuse number 3, I don't know what I want to do. If you really think about it, you haven't really thought about it. I mean, I've said that to people before, well, so what do you want to do? Well, I don't know what I want to do. Well, have you really thought about it? No. Well, there you go. This is probably the easiest excuse to get over. It's actually thinking about it. When I started my new way forward, and I learned this from other people who knew about change or had changed their lives, they actually put their attention to it. They actually started thinking it through. And for me, a lot of what I did, first of all, was just kind of saying, okay, I'm entering my olderhood. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? What's the deal? What's happening with retirement? Oh my gosh, no, I don't want that. And then what are other people doing? Oh my gosh, they're redesigning and reimagining their lives. And oh my gosh, there's this extended health. All of this awareness started opening up a world of possibilities to me. And then I went introspective and started thinking, what do I really want and need in life? And as I've shared in another video, earlier in my life, in 1989, I was leaving news. I had to leave news. I was going to hell back then. And I was trying to figure out, well, what am I going to do next? And what I just chose on career, income, and the fact, I can do that. But I never should have done it. It wasn't right for me, because I didn't really think it through. So when you really start thinking about it and pursuing information of what other people are doing or what are the possibilities as I described, a whole world opens up to you. And something, or maybe several things, start clicking with you. And there are tools that you can do it, and I've done videos on them too. One was taking a wheel of life and approaching this a little differently than it's designed to do, but in a way that can really help you identify what you want. So typically this is done as an inventory for all parts of your life. And that's what it would have helped me back in 1989 to say, okay, career, finances, but what about relationships and happiness and satisfaction and health and spiritual and mental growth and health and social and fun and family? And generally this is an inventory sheet, but you could also use it to identify, what does that family situation look like? What does social and fun look like? What do I need? What do I want? In all of those respects of life. And then you start identifying things. And so now you're going to start having a hard time saying, I don't know what I want. I do know what I want. Now I want to manifest it into something. Or another thing that I came across was, first of all, I wrote an obit, my current obit. And I was like, oh my gosh. As successful as I've been, great family, a lot to be grateful for, I haven't lived fully the life that was right for me. And then the next thing that I did, that I have the video on, is I wrote a thank you note from my 95-year-old self to my current self, thanking me for everything that I did starting today as my current self and in the future and the kind of life that we had. I wrote out the life that I wanted to have. And so all of that led me to being able to answer the question. And here is the coolest thing. It's almost like a trick. It works so easily as well. Is that when you take that effort, when you start thinking about it, there's the expression where attention goes, energy and focus flows. And when you start thinking about what you want, when you start thinking about the possibilities, when you start learning about stuff, then all of a sudden your brain takes over. Your brain conspires with you. You could also argue the universe or God conspires with you, and you start coming up with ideas. Excuse number 4, I don't have time. That excuse is pretty much equivalent to my dog ate my homework. I'll give you a quote from Tim Ferriss, if you know who he is. He's a big-time influencer and author, and he says, quote, "If you feel like you don't have time, you don't have priorities. Everyone has the same amount of time." Yeah, we've all got 24 hours a day. But based on your priorities, what are you doing with it? I mean, when I was going through my change, man, I mean, I was working 12, 14-hour days, 7 days a week, or, quite a bit on weekends, still raising 2 sons, on yada, 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 on and on and on. But what happened was that, as I said, dealing with the last excuse, I started getting excited. I knew I had to do it. And I started thinking about it. The energy and focus flowed because I put my attention on it. And I wanted to do it. And I found the time to do it while I was working out or doing yoga in the morning or whatever, that I was listening to people, that I was journaling, I was writing stuff down because it was important to me. It became a top life priority because this was about my life. Because that was one of the things that I realized. Here was one hell of a motivation for me. I didn't want to die I did not want to die with regret. There have been multiple surveys with people in their dying days about what they regretted. And across them all, the number one was that I didn't live the life that was right for me. I never went for it. I didn't live the life that was right for me. And I actually put myself in my imagination on my deathbed, imagining what that would feel like. And I even get a little bit of a visceral feeling of it right now. And I'm like, that's not going to happen to me. And that gave me the motivation to, despite my heavily task schedule that I had, that I was going to put my attention on it. And I did. And quite frankly, I am so grateful that I did because now I'm doing it. I'm already on my way to dying more with gratitude than any regret. Number 5, I'm too old. Listen, this age thing, in a few years, it's rapidly starting to change. What is too old anymore? What's too young anymore? Back in the 60s, the 1960s, you were too young to be an entrepreneur in your 20s. That changed. It's now changing in olderhood too, because we're living longer. We've got extended health span. And as was newly defined in the 60s, the ability to define your own life and what it was to be of a certain age and to signify it, well, that still carries on in us. That's why so many people my age are redesigning their life, reimagining it and reapplying it, because we're figuring we got a lot of years in order to do this. And here's a really, really, really big thing. The older you get, the better you are equipped and the better the time to A, choose and design the life that you want and succeed at it. Because you know more about life. You know more about the world. You know more about yourself. You're better equipped to doing it. And yeah, when you get older, okay, you also see the clock's ticking. But you're also maybe coming out of being parents or a career that you were done with for whatever reason. And you're like, it's my turn. And I'm going to go after it. So no. Age does not need to be a factor for all the information that I just told you. I love this quote from Marv Levy, who was a famous football coach for the Buffalo Bills. And he coached into an older age. And he said, quote, "The age factor means nothing to me. I'm old enough to know my limitations, and I'm young enough to exceed them." And here's the bonus that I promised. And I'm not calling this a pure excuse, because the reason behind it is a reason, it's legitimate, but when you use it as a reason to not change your life, it becomes an excuse. And that is that it's hard. Not for everybody. Some people skate right through it or enjoy the process, which I eventually did. But even when I was in the beginning, I'm like, man, this is going to be really hard to do. I got to put a lot of time and effort and research into it. I got to do a lot of self-exploration and all that other kind of stuff. That's going to be hard. But then I came across this. It's called Choose Your Heart, and it changed everything for me. And here's how it goes. Okay, so let's say you're in poor health. You're not in good shape. It's going to be hard to get in good shape and good health. Let's say your finances, you've got big problems with your finances. It's going to be hard to get out of that. And you want to change your life or a big part of it. Well, that's going to probably be really hard to do. Right. But on the other hand, it's going to be harder to be in poor health and to be limited, and who knows the consequences down the road. It's going to be harder to stay in financial trouble and have the fear and the angst and the struggle of it. And it's going to be harder to keep living a life that you know is not good enough for you. And you suffer the daily water torture of misery. And in all three cases, you hate yourself because you're not doing anything about it. So if they're both going to be hard, then choose the one that you're going to benefit from, that gives you a return on investment for taking on that hard. And you're living a healthy life and you feel good and you're able to do what you want to do. And you're out from financial trouble and you're free and you're enjoying your life and you change your life to something that's right for you. And you're living the dream, so to speak. And in all three cases, you love yourself for doing it. So you see, there are plenty of excuses that can stop us dead in our tracks even before we get going, but they are not legitimate reasons. And there's no supernatural force or any laws or regulations that's preventing you from overcoming those excuses to build the life you want. There's only one thing in your way, and that's you and your excuses.
Learn more ways to enhance your life and discover a new way forward that's perfect for you by watching these videos or any others on my channel. Oh, and be sure to subscribe.